All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call a regular meeting of council to order Monday, September 20th, 2021. Approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Majinski.
That the September 20th, 2021 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes. September 7th, 2021 regular council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Majinski.
That the Tuesday, September 7th, 2021 regular meeting of council minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Kirkowka. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so on page 9, there was a motion made by council. It's lengthy, one of my readers, 2021-31-13. We talked about the mandate in regards to the province, in regards to the vaccination passport, in regards to our community center, the operations within the district. And I'd like to hear from staff how the community center is being ran with that vaccination passport. And the reasoning I ask that is all the different mandates that are coming down by the provincial government in regards to what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Okay, Ms. Thompson.
Member of Transit Council. So at this time, we continue to get information from the province that comes down. So at this time, anything that is considered adult sport or recreation or program, there is the requirement from the province for the vaccine passport. The weight room is also considered vaccine passport. If it is a youth recreation at age 21 and under, those are exempt. So we are continuing to educate with our staff the ins and outs of that. Also for, I believe it's hockey spectators, there is no requirement for vaccine passport as well, because it is a youth sport. If it would be adult sport, then there is a requirement for vaccine passport, but anything youth, recreation organized, there isn't. In regard to meetings, it's capacity of 50 or more where there is a vaccine passport that is required. And at this time, that is being passed down to the user groups that are organizing those to implement those requirements.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so just to follow up that when you talk about adult sports and such, I'm assuming the swimming pool is exempt? Unless you're doing some kind of program in there where it comes to exercise?
Ms. Thompson.
Member Trent, so yes, the swimming pool, when it does come to public swims, and actually public skating as well is exempt. So public swim is exempt, and we are still looking for some clarification from the province in regard to programming at the pool, because there is some conflicting requirements that show exempt, but here it wouldn't be exempt, so we're still waiting for clarification from the province on whether some of the items that are at the pool would be exempt or not.
Councillor.
So just on that, my comments on this line of staff is to council is, to me when you say public skating is not an exercise, so if I'm 21 and over and I go public skating, I don't have to show a vaccination passport. But I do if I go play adult hockey. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense to me, and that's what I don't understand about it, and I read the motion and I actually put a support track. My other thoughts there is, when we talk about swimming is not an exercise sport. So I think, I look at the motion, I guess I'm not trying to discuss that motion because I don't allow it to be it. My thoughts there is this is where the provincial government hasn't even given enough knowledge to our staff to be able to implement this. Like, that's a big concern, not only for the residents of Tumbler, but for staff to have to try and do that. Like, it changes. I'm assuming it's changing day by day. Like, is there something as a council we can do? Not bringing that back up, but I get the government's changing in the mandate, trying to figure it out on their side too. But they're expecting communities to implement a program that they're not even knowing what to implement themselves. It doesn't make sense to me. Is there not something as council we can do? I mean, obviously support staff, but also our residents. So I guess my other question would be 21 and under don't have to have it, so does that include the weight room? If I'm 21 and under, if I go to the weight room, I would not have to have a
I don't believe so, Ms. Thompson.
passport?
I don't believe so, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. That is a clarification that we actually looked into today as well. So if it is youth sport And so if there is somebody that will be attending the weight room and it is sport related, we have passed that down to our staff that there is that exemption 21 and under to be going into the weight room as sport. So it was a clarification that we needed and passed down to our staff as well.
Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think Councillor Cogle makes some good points, but I mean, the process isn't perfect, but this is what we're stuck with, right? So we have to, I mean, clarity is good, clarity for our residents is good, clarity for ourselves is good, but when it comes down to it, we're gonna see our legal opinion not too far down in where we can actually act within the mandates, right? Like this is thrust upon us. We need clarity. That's for sure. That's what we should be looking for. Clarity.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Howe.
So 3 of us on this side sound like we're looking for clarity. We would need 1 more on the other side to get clarity. And a motion that I put forward 2 meetings ago was to ask the provincial government for clarity before we implemented anything. That was one of the portions of that motion.
The clarity is in the legal opinion in this agenda.
Okay, so the way I read what's in this agenda is not what we asked for. We asked for a legal opinion of what was being violated. This is the legal opinion on the documentation that was provided to us by Action for Canada. That's the legal opinion we got. We asked for legal opinion and it got voted down by this council. Then you put the motion forward to get legal opinion on the notice that was handed out to us to
Liability.
protect our own butts.
Correct.
That's what we have a legal opinion on. We do not have legal opinion on what Councillor Krakauka is talking about. It sounds like Councillor Norbury supports as well, which is to get clarity from the BC government about what things are supposed to be implemented. Why would we be implementing stuff when we don't have clarity on it? We're just taking a guess at it. Like our staff is taking the best guess that they can at it. We're just hoping that things work out good.
Ms. Thompson, are you guessing in regards to these mandates, or are you looking for specific clarifications for specific situations?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So we read, once the provincial health order came out, you read what's in the provincial health order. There are gray areas at the time, so you reach out to the province, and Chief Curry's on calls weekly in regard to questions that come out. And we're also on the email tree through the BC Parks and Recs Association, through the ministry as well. And so we do receive clarification from other communities across the province who are asking the questions. We are included in where everybody is asking for clarification and that would go with the provincial health order. So we review those on a daily basis. If we have questions, we also contact the province as well. And so we go from the information that we receive through the province and through other communities and other associations.
Okay, so I'm definitely hearing concern of council that we're looking for more clarification from the province. I'm not exactly sure what we're looking for, to be honest with you. Staff is implementing the mandates from the province, getting clarification when needed. I'm not exactly sure what other information we're looking for here. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. That's, my statements are more of like how staff can firm up these gray areas. We know that, we do not have a choice in these mandates. I'm not saying that we should stop them until we get, the legal opinion, because we already have a legal opinion. You yourself have pointed out that this is up to a court of law, not a judge's, not a lawyer's opinion on whether we should or should not. So yeah, I want to clarify that because Councillor Howe was, I think, implying something that I wasn't quite implying.
Okay. Councillor Krakauka.
Yeah, so I just have a couple more, Your Worship. That's, how quick is the response coming back from the BC government in regards to the gray areas we're asking about or other communities are asking about?
Ms. Thompson.
We usually get an update every couple hours or so. So in cases where there is a gray area, we do ask for everybody's patience as we do find out the information, because we are following the order the way it is written, and then that may or may not change depending on the clarifications that we do get. So we're just trying to disseminate that information out as quickly as what we can when we do get clarification.
Councillor.
So just one more, and this isn't on staff, so please don't take it, I'm definitely not beating up people of age, but, so it used to be, or the talk was it was 12 and over, Now they changed it to 21 and under. Is there getting better clarification that it may be 50 and under? Like maybe they're changing the numbers and we can change the age requirement? Like, and that's not gonna stop, that's a question to ask BC government. When it first was talked about this was gonna happen, it was 12 and over would have to supply it. Well, that's obviously changed when it comes to possibly our weight room. The swimming pool seems to be exempt, getting more clarification in regards to some of the programs. And the BC government responds fairly quick to the district. So if they went from the talk in the mandates from 12 and up over, and now it's 21 and 21 and under, so I guess 22 and over, because until I turn 22, I don't have to follow that mandate. So I guess clarification there, if they're planning on maybe changing that number as, or they some case drops, whatever that may be, but it just seems weird to me that this is what they started with. I mean, I don't know how staff's dealing with that, but to me, that's where the clarification isn't clear. You know, they started with that, now they're saying 21, so.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Transport Council. So I do, when the initial press release came out, there was information that comes out in those press releases. We don't necessarily react to the press releases until we actually see the provincial health order, because the order could be different than what came out in the press release. So I know it always takes us a couple days to respond, but we always wait for that written provincial health order where there should be more clarification than what actually comes out in the press releases, because things actually do change from the press release to the orders. So we do, that's why it always does take us extra time, because we wait for the order that has the information.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
One final one. Playground in the community center, exempt. So if I have children, I can take my children there, because I'm there to babysit my children. I'm not there to exercise on the equipment myself, my kids are. Is that exempt?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So you are correct, the playground, the play area in the community center is exempt. When you are attending a physical program or an activity for your child, there is the exemption for the caregiver as well. So yes, that is exempt. And staff did have a discussion on that, and you know, we look for clarity on that, and that is considered an activity for a child, so it would be exempt.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
Just masks though. They're still implemented if it's not up? You know, thank you.
Councillor Howell?
Question with that as well, if we're gonna, the health order is in place and that is the bare minimum that we have to follow by. Is there any intention of staff to go beyond the health order? And if that was going to happen, does that come through council or can that be done by our fire chief?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. So within an EOC that is currently open, we do have discussions among staff about where it's at. So minimum requirements is all that we are implementing at this time. We haven't had any discussions about a further one. Within district buildings for our staff, we do sometimes have a stricter guideline when we're setting capacity issues per rooms and that. And that's what we set comfortable, but that's for our employees. When it comes to the public, it is a minimum standard and not a higher requirement than what the province has.
Any follow-up there, Council? Councillor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Kirby?
As far as clarity, that's one of the things that, let's say, irritated me at the last meeting. We don't have any clarity from the government. We never seem to. It's, you know, you go into a restaurant, you need a passport, yet your server doesn't. That doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. But there's a provincial health order that we have to follow. I may not like it, but that doesn't mean we don't have to follow it. And yeah, maybe you think there's only 3 people that want clarity. I think that's wrong. I think everybody wants clarity, but it seems to take a long time to get it, and then it changes all the time. And that's the frustrating part, because it's good one day, it's not good a week later. So I think everybody is frustrated at this point, but you know, I don't know, you don't want to accept it, but what do? You just grin and bear.
Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Our staff at the community center putting up all the new health orders and how it's working? Is it visible for the residents to know what they can and can't do? Because I am confused. You know, it's confusing, and if you're trying to follow it, how, when it's changing so rapidly, it seems like, you know, what's a sport, what's, you know, the gym use, how you use it is even a way to make a mistake on how you're implementing this. So, you know, I think the best move is just, I like that we're just doing the bare minimums. We're not adding anything to the health orders, but getting the information out to people on how to follow them is important.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, through council. So you are correct. We don't, well, at this time, we have the posters that have been provided about vaccine passports. So I know at the weight room, there is a be prepared to show a vaccine passport to enter, right? So we are currently always working on our documents and our posters to go up because it does change. So at this time, we don't have it posted because there isn't an easy roadmap. We have to look at it and look for the clarity on it. So at this time, we don't have anything posted other than what we know what happens right now, which is the weight room, which is the biggest one that we are seeing is the weight room for the vaccine passport.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 4.1, Site C Rustic Recreation Site Fund Application, a verbal report from Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So, council had requested that staff apply for the Site C Rustic Recreation Site Fund. And as we looked at the criteria that were within it, we were looking to expand the Murray River Boat Launch. It needs to be a shovel-ready project in order to apply. So we weren't able to get that information together in order to apply for that because it needs to be shovel-ready.
Okay. Questions, comments, council? Councillor Howell?
Do we have a list of shovel-ready projects?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. At this time, no, we don't. There aren't too many projects that we have, especially when it comes to recreation, that we have that would be shovel-ready, that we've looked at expansion in certain areas or anything like that. We don't have anything at this time that's shovel-ready.
Councillor Kirkowka?
That was my question as well. Just wondered if we had anything shovel-ready. It doesn't just mean the boat launch, right? Could mean other instance. I'm not sure where TRMDA is. Maybe Councillor Kirby could talk about that. Maybe there's a way of helping them in regards to applying for this for downhill trails if they're shovel ready. Why not go after these funds that are there instead of not going after these funds?
It's definitely an opportunity. Councillor Majinski?
Do you want to speak on it?
I think Councillor
Yeah,
Lehman
no,
attended.
we submitted to Rec Sites and Trails. We do have a shovel-ready master plan. We submitted the GPS files last week, waiting to hear back. The person in charge has been away for the last week, so we'll be back in the office this week, and hopefully we'll hear back soon. But we could definitely look at the TRMBA Ridge project as a shovel-ready project because it is slated to start, and it has to actually start next year for that funds to be starting to be spent within the next 3 years. So.
Has TRMBA inquired about this rustic recreation fund?
No, I thought it was just strictly district, but I guess since TRMBA is in, has, well, the major, the $500,000 that was funded was in conjunction with the district, so it is a partnership there, so that definitely could be a option. We can definitely discuss that. We should have a meeting probably in the next 2 weeks with Rec Sites and Trails, Community Forest, District Tumbler Ridge, TRMBA, and the ministry. So hopefully we can get something going there.
Okay.
And the fire mitigation. So there's a lot of people involved here, so a lot of moving parts. So.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Councillor Howell?
So where can we put that in so that council doesn't miss out on something like this again? If we were to have shovel-ready projects, you know, ready for, say, asset management, parks, roads, buildings, something along those, so that we have them ready, we know what the costs are, we're ready to go. We're not going ahead with it until we get the money. I know that the child care center is another thing that we've talked about, you know, getting that up to a point, but how do we not lose this? Because I wasn't aware that we didn't have any shovel-ready projects on the go. I most certainly thought that we did. Maybe didn't apply to this particular fund, but I thought we had some. That's not the information that I did have from staff. But how do we not lose this? Where can we add this to our budget meetings to make sure that this is, you know, for upcoming next year's budget?
to prepare shovel-ready projects, or are you talking about this actual site fund?
No, not about this site fund anymore, but there are gonna be other ones that come along that say they have to be shovel ready, and I've heard that in council before from previous administration, that we didn't have stuff ready to go. And, we've got binders of stuff on the go in that back room back there, but we should have at least 1 or 2 things ready to go. And with the full intention that these are projects that we'd like to move forward with, we just don't want to spend public money to do them. We want to get grants to move forward on them, and so that we got something ready to go. Public bathrooms, for instance, down at the Lions Campground, or the bathrooms on walking trails that we talked about. Like, get those things up, ready to go, and just, we don't move on them. We seem to always move on everything, right, when we're spending our own money at it. But if we had things set aside that, we'd love to have this, we just don't really want to spend money towards it, let's get them shovel ready so we can go for grants and stuff like this.
Maybe it's an opportunity to bring it to a P&P meeting to try and narrow down some priorities that we would want to be shovel-ready. That'd be an option. Councillor Norbury?
Yeah, that's fair enough, Mayor Bertrand. I mean, I think the recreation site fund was like for $10,000. I know I shared it out to a few groups. I mean, this is also opportunity for groups themselves to just, to get those things done. I know I reached out to the Lions because they're talking about setting up Wi-Fi down at the park, and TR days, they're always up to something. So I mean, this is also an opportunity for other groups as well, right? Like, yeah, it's good that we have shovel-ready projects in IFP, but at the same time, like, we do have nonprofit organizations, that deal in this scale as well, right? Because we're talking $10,000. A lot of our stuff we're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're working on. And I mean, it's okay to leave some for those guys too, right?
Mm-hmm. Councillor Majinski?
Would the flatbed campground with the waterways there and the mitigation on the pump house, would that be something that could have been applied to this? Because it was put on hold because we didn't get the funding that we needed. And this application, if it was only for $10,000, would this maybe be brought forward to the chamber for them to help out with some of these nonprofits that don't necessarily do a lot of grant writing?
That would be an opportunity for the nonprofits to reach out to the chamber or a grant writer for that opportunity, I would think.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor Kirby, do you have something?
Nope.
Councillor Hall?
Just, can we make sure that we add that to a P&P then?
Absolutely. Yep.
Maybe, we get some staff clarity on it, like, understand a $10,000 project's not gonna get a set of bathrooms built down on a walking trail, but perhaps there are other ones that we can apply for. If this is a waste of time, we get staff to let us know, yeah, don't worry about it, so.
Yep. No, I think it's worth a discussion, absolutely. 4.2, proof of vaccination as per the request of council to obtain legal opinion on the personal liability that council has in regards to implementing the vaccine passport. Councillor Norbury?
Bring it up for discussion.
For discussion, seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So what we have in front of us is what will happen if you don't follow the Public Health Act. $25,000 fine, 6 months in jail. I think in the climate that we're in, I hear a lot of negativity surrounding the mandates. And I think it's important to recognize the burden that this has placed on our local businesses. And, I would like to encourage people that are watching at home in the gallery, still support our local businesses the best that we can in the situation that everyone's put in. I understand it's easy to get upset because someone doesn't believe in what you believe in and suggest a boycott or whatever. I think we still need to support people in our community, regardless of how we feel about it, because we're being told that $25,000 fine would bankrupt a business in our community. Some of them, right? 6 months in jail. We need to support our local businesses the best that we can through this, and all our organizations that are stuck with this mandate. Nobody wants it. We want to keep everyone safe, but just let's try and support each other through this.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Thank you. On to consent agenda, 7.1. Recommendation, please. Councillor Kirkowka.
That all items of September 20th, 2021 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any items council would like to lift from the consent agenda? Councillor Howell,
7.2, ambulance, paramedics, and emergency dispatch.
seconder. Councillor Majinski, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Howell.
So just, has anyone on council or staff had any negotiation or any discussions with what's going to be happening at our local health unit here with our ambulance and what's happening in Chetwynd going full-time? Has anyone had these discussions?
I've had it.
Through to staff.
I've had a bit of a conversation with one member there, but I haven't discussed it with staff, no.
So I as well have spoke with some people involved in this. And this sounds, this is the start of something not good for Tumbler Ridge again. Chetwynd's going to full-time and people in Tumbler Ridge, I don't know all the specifics of it, so I don't want to talk too much to it. But at the end of the day, paramedics from Tumbler Ridge are more likely to want to go to Chetwynd and work a regular shift out in Chetwynd and then commute back and forth from Tumbler Ridge. And so somehow this came down, changed. We had no input, we didn't know anything that it was coming or whatnot. But I would think that this needs to be elevated immediately. We claim that health is our #1 priority for this council in Tumbler Ridge. These guys and girls do a ton for us in our community, and we need to make sure that we're supported. We cannot lose people like this. The person that I spoke to is a long-term resident of Tumbler Ridge, is going to likely leave Tumbler Ridge, where he has a job with BC Ambulance, and go to Chetwynd, because it's a better opportunity for him. Why can't he have the same opportunity in Tumbler Ridge? Because Chetwynd's going to full-time, you're gonna have 8 people or something like that on the crew. Like, regardless of how that happens or whatever, what do we need to do to fix that? What can we do? We need to put, if this is our #1 priority in this council, we better not go much further than this right here to make sure that this becomes a top priority now for this council.
I agree. Councillor Kirkowka.
I think we should be reaching out to BC Ambulance and get a delegation. Whether it's the superintendent, Rick Lukes, or his higher command out of Prince George. But that's who's making those decisions, and it's not just having going to full-time. Barrier and all these places that have had kilo cards are now going to full-time. So yeah, there's individuals that probably will go to Chetwynd to work because it's gonna be a regular, 2 full-time day shifts and then 2 nights and then you're off for 4. But people are gonna move around the province to go to these full-time stations. And you're gonna lose more and more manpower, not just in Tumbler, but some of these other smaller outlying areas as well. I think it's time to get a delegation to find out what we can do to try and get something like that in our station here.
Yep.
Because right now they're $2 an hour, unless they're paid up. So pretty minimal when you work for ambulance service in a small rural area.
I agree. Councillor Howell.
And how do we not get any communication from them before they implement something like this that could be so dire to our community? We get invitations from the First Nation groups when they're doing things in their communities, from the district of Chetwynd, Hudson Hope. They're putting a float on in Hudson Hope. We get an invitation to attend their ceremony to get on their float. But something like this comes down and the BC government doesn't send us any information on what's happening with BC Ambulance. That's a problem. There's a breakdown there. That needs to be addressed. Any major change in a small community like this, we're in big trouble.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's no different than when they took the second car away too. I don't believe there was any consultation on that as well. There is mention here in the letter, welcome to the opportunity to discuss your community-specific public safety, blah, blah, blah. I think we do need to reach out, either an email to the specific people listed in this letter, as well as maybe a letter to the Ministry of Health. And yeah, absolutely a delegation, most definitely. But I think we do need that opportunity to connect with them directly to explain our situation for our community specifically. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, I think we can reach out. This is obviously the union that sent this out to us. Right, so they know what's happening, so they're actually the ones that are revising us. So I do think we reach out to the health minister, the health critic, but we also reach out to BC Ambulance asking for a delegation, like I said, whether that's Rick Lukes out of, for the superintendent position in the piece, or we ask for his higher command of
Okay, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that in a motion that we address a letter to the Minister of Health and Health Critic, advocating for what we need in Tumbler Ridge, and also contact BC Ambulance for a delegation.
Seconder, Councillor Howell. Any more discussion? Did you get all that, Ms. Thompson?
That's a good answer.
Video.
Thank
Okay.
you. We will go back and review the tape to ensure that we have everything that's in
Perfect.
gathered votes.
Great, thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Any other items on the consent agenda, Council? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you. 7.6, Mayor Burton.
For discussion, seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So we have another chance, another kick at the can, if you will, for some grant funding from the Child Care BC New Spaces Fund. I think we should be we should try and make that a priority again. So what we can do, there was there's still an issue of childcare. You mentioned earlier, our previous meeting, that we had 45 babies born last year. We're going to need quality childcare to get our parents back into the workforce to fill those gaps that we know we have in our community that can provide a service. So I'd like to make a motion,
Please.
For staff to work with the TR Child Care Society to apply for the Child Care BC New Spaces Fund.
Seconder, Councillor Kirkowka. Discussion. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Yeah, there was a few councillors, myself, Councillor Curry, Councillor Majinski, and our CAO that was in a meeting last week with Northern Health. And the question came up about the Exeter case. And eventually the information will be supplied, but some of the information that they shared directly in that meeting was childcare was one of the reasons people left. Never knew about it. Never ever heard that in any of the task force meetings. Never heard that from Northern Health. One of the reasons we have people leaving here is because of childcare.
Or lack thereof.
So that is something we can be using. We actually mentioned in the meeting, that's something that's good to know. I was unaware of that, so there's something that we can add into this in regards to getting that done.
I agree. Councillor Howe.
So I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong. I think we need to get after more childcare spaces, but I am concerned that how staff handled this previously was the reason why we did not get this childcare grant. It was supposed to be for new spaces, not the renovation of old spaces. And I want to make sure that we have better oversight on it this time so that we don't have that happen again. So would it be advisable that we have a councillor sit in on this and take charge on this? So that we have somebody directly in there looking out for our best interests. I don't know what council feels about that.
Councillor Majinski.
The person that's probably going to do it most likely is going to be our CAO this time. It'll be a completely different outlook on what's going to be needed. It's going to have a completely different scope of a project. It's not going to be 70 spaces, it might be 50. The project's not going to be as grand. It's not going to be a huge, massive, big building. It's going to be what we need for this community. It's not going to be Class D or whatever they call it every time there's a new type of build. So I think the project can be scaled back to the attainable price range that was supposed to be set out for, not going above and beyond. And I have a lot of faith in our CAO to provide a good request and a grant proposal. So
Yeah, as far as I understand, Ms. Thompson has reviewed the previous applications and have found the deficiencies there. Definitely looking to scale back in regards to luxuries. For example, one of the pieces was a $500,000 playground. That could probably be cut back a little bit. So I think she has a pretty good handle on it. Ms. Thompson, did you want to clarify?
Thank you, Mayor President. So I've, in part of my career is I was on a daycare board in Saskatchewan, and the requirements for daycare are very similar to what they are in BC as well. There is going to be a requirement for those spaces that are currently there that they have to be funded by somebody. The province they'll fund new spaces, but not existing if those existing are moving into the building. So I'm very familiar with legislation for daycares, and I was on a committee that actually fundraised and got corporate donations to build a daycare. So I'm confident working with the Children's Society that we'll be able to put an application in. Last time the application came out, it was in October, and I was only here for a few weeks. We have since worked on alternative options for a daycare, and there's just a few tweaks that we need to put in it, but the costs are significantly lower than what had been presented earlier. So I'm confident that the application. And we also have the province from our meeting last week, that the province has offered to work with us as well. So I have contacts there with the province as well on the application.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hall, follow up?
Yeah, not to belittle the point, but would council not agree that staff were the ones that dropped the ball on this project previously? Not Ms. Thompson specifically, but our staff. Would you not agree that that's where the ball got dropped here? Is that not your understanding why we weren't successful? That's my understanding.
Correct.
Okay.
Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. What happened in the past, I mean, it is what it is. We do have a lot of staff turnover. We're gonna have a lot of new people to look in on this, and that's why, in the motion, I asked to work with the Child Care Society, because they're the boots on the ground. They know what's going on. They know what they need. They know what's gonna happen. My concern is if we get a counselor in there, we're taking the political realm and we're gonna try and exert our political desires on an issue like, maybe we should let the professionals deal with it, right? Like the Child Care Society, I think they're the stakeholder here. They need to be involved from the get-go. So I know that was the concern that I've been fielding from, the society, in that it would have been nice to work together to smooth all these things over. And, so far, staff have done a great job. I have a lot of, I think they're going to do a good job. I haven't had any reason so far to say that this is not something within their ability to manage and to do.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other items from the consent agenda to lift?
We have a motion.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
I can read it out if you like.
No, that's okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Any other items on the consent agenda? Councillor Howe?
7.3.
For discussion. Seconder, Councillor Malinsky. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councillor Howe?
So we've discussed this in the past of how we go about responding to members of the public, especially that take the time to write to the district. So I'm curious, what is our response as a council going to be back to Mrs. Sloane in regards to her letter? Are we just letting staff write the reply for us, or are we actually going to have input into Ms. Sloane's letter?
This one's, in my opinion, difficult to reply to because I think all 7 of us have different opinions on the matter. So I don't know if we really want to put a majority consensus response together. It's up to council, I guess, but we do have Ms. Sloane in the gallery here tonight, so yeah, it's really up to council. Staff, were you planning a response at this time?
Thank you, Member Trent. At this time, unless council directs, because it is on the consent agenda, unless it is directed by council, staff does not respond until we have direction from council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howe?
So just so I'm clear, when we go forward on any time that somebody from the public sends us a letter, we will not respond to them unless council directs them to reply. Is that correct?
Is that correct, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. So when it is addressed to mayor and council,
Okay.
correct. If an email comes or something is addressed directly to myself as CAO or as Chief Curry, we do respond to inquiries by email or how that comes in, and that doesn't necessarily come. However, if it is to mayor and council, the response does not come unless it's from mayor and council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howe?
One last thing, in Ms. Sloane's letter, she talks about the Section 8 of the Canadian Charter of Rights. And I would just ask council, would there be any flavor in council for us to, again, ask the legal opinion of our lawyers if there are any violations of the Charter of Rights in relation to vaccine passport, and specifically Section 8 of the Canadian Charter of Rights?
Council? Councillor Kirkcalka? Councillor Kirkcalka?
Yeah, I'd support that. I mean, I think when we have residents, and I don't think this is the only letter received, I wasn't here at the last meeting, all the winter holidays, but when they're asking stuff like that, and to me, when we think that we may, or this mandate, to me, this order from the provincial government, and obviously, we think they checked into it, but where does that put us? I mean, obviously, there's some clarity tonight from staff in regards to what's allowed in our community center and what's not allowed in our community center, and I think that helps some of our residents out. I mean, I understand Ms. Sloane has young kids, and I'm not sure, read her letter, I'm not sure exactly what she's all looking for, but I don't think she's just fighting for herself. He's fighting for the community residents. So every resident is different. I mean, we have some that are for it, some that are against it. I mean, our job is obviously to lobby for all of our residents, and she asked us for that. And I think we are doing that. To me, you just can't pick sides, you gotta lobby the whole thing. You know, whether I agree with the vaccination passport or not, which I do not. I do not think that's against my thing to have to show up. Did I get jabbed? I got jabbed. That's my right to get jabbed. So I think it's right to ask about the human rights when it comes to our facilities. They pay for them, not the provincial government. Like, we are at arm's length of the provincial government. Totally understand them, we're all that. We collect tax dollars on behalf of the provincial government, run the municipality on behalf of the government. The taxpayers are what paying for that community center, or the big center, or the tourism center. So I think it's right to find out on that mandate from the provincial government. I don't think they've done their job either. They're waiting. I think it was I'm gonna say rushed order. I think they're trying to worry about public safety, and I think that's the job of the provincial government or the health officer. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, that's each other's choice. But I don't think it's wrong to ask for that clarity from our lawyer. I understand when I watched the video back on what the motion was and then what ended up coming out of it, and all we seem to be concerned about is if we did this, can I get sued as council? That's what that legal advice is. Yes, I understand. Councillor Norbury, you mentioned it earlier, all the legal advice is gonna come before us. It did. And it talks about the order. It talks if we don't impose it. It talks about the paperwork that was supplied to us as councillors by residents of Tumbler Ridge. And that, to take it, I mean, I won't say with a grain of salt, but, can be sued. The man who sent the letters of dissatisfaction to councillor entitled to their opinion, it should not dissuade councillor from complying with the provincial law. It will always seem to be, that was the motion, is get legal advice on those letters. So now we're asking, and I will fully support a motion goes on the floor, if we can get legal opinion, if we're breaching anybody's rights by following the provincial order. It's not a mandate, it's an order.
Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Yeah, I can vote in favor of going at this again, but I don't think it's gonna change. I think within our positions here as council, we have to follow the mandate within our municipal buildings. End of story. Does it matter if, the vaccine passport? I'm against the vaccine passport. But within our buildings, this is what we have. But, I don't think it's gonna change. We can go to the lawyer again, because I don't think they would have put that in place if it was going to actually be against human rights, because then the whole country's gonna be a big lawsuit.
Yeah, you are.
And that's it. So,
Councillor
Just-
Beaman?
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple of things here. I've listened to different lawyers talk about this, the Charter of Rights. Some say that they actually have a case. Then there's others that say that they don't, because you still have a choice whether or not to get the passport or not. That's one of the arguments. The other thing is, now it's not only BC, Quebec, and Nova Scotia, but Alberta, Ontario, and the other provinces are doing it as well. So you'd think maybe some of these provinces would have done their homework to see whether or not this was actually legal. I don't know whether it is or not, and I don't know if anybody does at this point. So until this all plays out, who knows? Maybe they'll start having court cases in Quebec and the rest of the provinces as well as here. But until then, how do we know?
Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Councillor Lehman, I think brought up the great point in that legal opinion goes back and forth, and you can find it back and forth. But I mean, from what it sounds like from the gallery, there's already this is already in the courts. So why should we be spending $500 an hour for our lawyers to go out and rack up the clock to give us information that we're going to get from these court cases that are already in play? That's my thoughts, right? To be honest, this is what's in front of us. Now, if we have information that says that yes, this order is in conflict with the Canadian Human Rights and Charter, which we will find out through these court cases, then we have something actionable to act on. We have a piece, we have a court case, we have something definitive, something that we can use legally to enact this change that's happening. A lawyer's opinion is not worth anything unless we have a judge and precedent behind it. That's my concern. I want clarity, but unfortunately, a lawyer's opinion I think it's going to cost us a bunch of money that we don't need to spend to have a judge tell us that's, and it's already in the works to tell us, right? So I think we need to be watching for how these court cases come and how they are dealt with. And then once we get that information, that's what we act on. Because that's what we have to. When the judge lays down a verdict, that's now law. And we have precedent. And that's what we do.
Okay, Councillor Howe?
So Councillor Lehman says we don't know, and I agree, we don't know. And that's why I'm saying, just ask the question. Just ask the question of our legal counsel, the District of Tumbler Ridge's legal counsel, right? For our benefit, for the benefit, therefore, of the community. And for Councillor Norbury to make a statement to say, oh, well, it's just a lawyer's opinion. We take our lawyer's opinion on stuff in this chambers every day. 4 pages ago, we just took our lawyer's legal opinion. It was good enough then. It wasn't a judge's opinion. It was our lawyer's opinion. Good enough then. We can't be charged. We're good. Move on. It's not a legal opinion. It's not a judge's decision. So what I'm saying is just ask the question. And we got a legal opinion for ourselves like that. We had it back for our next meeting. So if we just ask the question that a resident has brought forward, we can then easily go back to this resident and say, we've asked the question on your behalf through our lawyers. This is concerning enough for us that we want to get the correct legal opinion on it. We send it out, we get the response from our lawyer, then we have something backing what we're saying when we're sitting up here. Rather than just saying, well, I just don't think we should. Hopefully somebody else is doing it.
Put forward a motion.
Okay, yeah. Put motion forward that we ask, in the opinion of our lawyers, if there is any violation of the Charter of Rights in relation to the vaccine passport, and specifically Section 8 of the Canadian Charter of Rights.
Seconder? Councillor Kukalka, any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Any other items on the consent agenda, Council? Councillor Kukalka.
7.7.
For discussion, seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councillor Kukalka.
Just wanted to just make a motion that we supply a letter of support in regards to bridge replacement for grants for the federal government.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion? I'm definitely in support of this. This went through the regional district as well for a letter of support and was passed, so I think we should be moving this forward as well. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any other items on the consent agenda? Councillor Kukalka.
7.8.
Seconder, Councillor Howell. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Kukalka.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea what they're doing there, and I think it should be something that we ask to go through the PRRD. They went through their regional district. Maybe the communities, once the PRRD was to talk about it, maybe that's where communities enter their amount. I think it's, the devastation that happened in Lytton. And they're getting a lot of support, not just from, obviously, the regional district's doing this, but there was mills on Vancouver Island that donated wood. Like, there's Sands Group donated some and stuff like that. And I think, it just shows great British Columbia, I guess you want to call it, because not everybody has insurance. I mean, the ones that have insurance, sure, they're going to be taken care of over time, just like Fort Mac was. But, I think if the devastation happened here, our residents would sure love that kind of support as well. So I think it's something that I'd make a motion that we ask Mayor Bertrand to take this to the PRRD to get their feedback.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Kirby. Discussion. Councillor Norbury.
How do you feel about taking it to the PRD, Mayor? It's nice to make a motion, but really, I don't think we should be saying, "Hey, Mayor, go do this thing," unless you're in support of it. So that's what I ask.
Yeah, no, I can certainly bring that forward to the regional district, most definitely. I'm sure they've received this correspondence already, and it's likely on the upcoming agenda, but I haven't seen it yet. So, yeah, certainly I'll bring it forward. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, anything else on the consent agenda? Okay, moving on to new business, 9.1, District of Tumbler Ridge elected officials, E09 policy, Report dated September 20th, 2021 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding the District of Tumbler Ridge elected officials E09 policy. Recommendation, please. Councillor Lehman.
That council amends the proceedings of the terms of reference for the Policies and Priorities Committee meeting, EO-9, as meeting once a month.
Seconder. Councillor Kukalka, discussion. All in favor? Carried, thank you. 9.2, Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'm gonna have to step out as I have a monetary interest as I work at the library.
Thank you. Nine point two, Tumbler Ridge Public Library Board appointments. Report from the Director of Corporate Services with the Tumbler Ridge Public Library Board appointments. Recommendation, please. Councillor Majinski.
Council approves the appointment of Brett Robertson and Dara Hoffman to the Tumbler Ridge Library Board pending meeting all criteria for the appointment of the board.
Seconder. Councillor Kirby, discussion. Councillor Howe.
What does pending meeting all criteria of the appointment of the board mean?
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, through council. So pending meeting all criteria. So council does have a criteria that there is a satisfactory CRC completed, criminal record check. So at this time, we don't have that information yet. So in order to move forward, they are appointed, but they still will not receive approval until we have a satisfactory criminal record check.
Councillor.
And are we also not asking for the resumes? Is that not part of the criteria?
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. We do have the resumes, and if a council member wishes to see them, we can supply them, but at this time, we can't put them in our, in the packages because they are personal information of each individual.
Councillor Kukalka.
Thank you. I was actually gonna ask the same question. Those used to come in and closed because it was personal information. They used to come into a closed. It's no different than the community forest. That's one of the request motions that were made, that this has to be supplied to the district or the council. So to me, again, we don't have it complete. It should have been within the closed package. And then obviously rise and report. Normally we used to see that. Never mind, we used to. It was a motion that we seen those.
Okay. Ms. Thompson, were you aware?
Thank you. No, this is the first time that we've had new board appointments where council has asked to see resumes. The last time, well, since I've been here.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, since I've been here, sorry, that's the qualification on that.
Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So maybe we should just make sure there's actually a motion. I'm positive there's a motion and we ask for that from the library board as well as the community forest board. That they fully fill out, send it to us, we get a chance to read it. I know who they're all about. The idea, I mean, I think we put those two together because of in regards to community forest on what they're actually representing. So we did the same thing with the library board because we appoint those two boards. I'd like to know if there's a motion, and I understand that staff may not be able to answer this time. It's probably something worth looking at.
Okay, so is this something that we want to defer to close then? Councillor?
I'll make a motion
To
to defer to close.
to close. Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion. Councillor Majinski.
We've had board appointments last year, and I don't think we had resumes provided to us then either. They were not enclosed. There was two individuals, and that's when the debate was when we were to talk about having criminal record checks. There was never a resume provided in front of us.
I do remember seeing resumes, yeah, enclosed.
Enclosed?
After that one.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Chris Norbury. Probably in my office. Okay, Okay, 9.3, Economic Resiliency Task Force. I'll make the recommendation that the Economic Resiliency Task Force be discontinued immediately. Seconder, Councillor Kirkowka. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Schedule of meetings. It says dates to be chosen in October for Let's Talk. Councillor Howell?
So I'm not comfortable doing a let's talk, if we can't allow every member of the public in to do vaccine passports. We're gonna have more than 50 people in there, right? We can't let anybody in,
Correct.
right? So to me, delay it until at least after January 31st, 2022, and see if we're allowed enough people without vaccine passports.
Councillor Howell, or sorry, Councillor Kirkowka.
I thought it wasn't required for meetings, and if it's over the 50, a safety plan has to be put in place.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent through council. So as it is council, it is council business, that is exempt. The only thing we do have to follow is the capacity. So there is no requirement for vaccine passport, but there is a capacity of rooms 4 and 5 right now, which I think is 50% with their total capacity. So I believe that's just over 100 people at a time in those 2 rooms.
Councillor Kirkowka.
We're concerned about capacity, there's the Trent Hotel, or Trent Conference Center. I think their capacity is 300 or something, so half of that would be 150. There's always that.
Okay. Any possible dates? Suggestions? Councillor Kirkowka.
So do we not have to add a PNP for October 12th as well?
Correct. That would be the date you would be looking at, Ms. Thompson? So let's talk in the evening, during the week. Councillor Kirkowka,
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Usually, I mean, no disrespect, but it's not that I'm concerned about, not concerned about everybody else, but usually mine's a flip over day, so if they're going back, they're off by a certain time, or they're coming off that. Most people should be able to make it. I think that was one of the concerns the PNP was trying, maybe we should have 2 so we can catch both shifts. But on a Wednesday, I don't know if I know it all to be true with the mine, but I believe then they go back in the morning, I guess night shift you'd be missed. It gives probably more chance for more members to make it.
Councillor Norbury.
The only issue I see, a potential conflict in October is on Wednesday would be that the Geopark AGM on the 20th. So I think that would be something we don't want to conflict with. 27th, maybe, we can all wear our costumes. I'm really excited about my costume this year, so.
Councillor Howell.
So we can conduct a meeting in rooms 4 and 5, and if the capacity limit is 100 people, or 200 people, or whatever the capacity limit is, we can actually put 100 people in there that have not had to have their vaccine passport checked. That's what we're saying. But one person who wants to go into the gym with a mask on can't go in the gym if he's over 21 years old. That's what we're saying.
Why do we keep?
Because I just need clarification, because I don't got it. I don't get it.
So why are you looking for clarification here? This is a provincial mandate. It comes from the
We're
province.
gonna let people, well, because.
Do you think
if-
the mayor of Tumbler Ridge can answer those questions?
No, it's not for the mayor, it's for 6, 7 of us, Keith, you're not the only guy in here. There's 6 of us in here, along with you.
I
All of
understand.
us have to have the discussion on this. What I'm saying is this is our building, and if I don't understand how the concept works of going in and out of our building, what makes you think that we're gonna get people in the community thinking they'll actually be able to go in to a Let's Talk committee? Not everybody thinks they can get into the building. I went down to the building today, our signs are on the building before a federal election that still says you have to have your vaccine passport before you come into this building. That's what it says on our front doors. We know that's not true, but how many people got turned away at the doors today because we didn't take them friggin' signs down?
I
Right?
don't know.
Doesn't make any sense.
I understand, but we're not here to debate sense.
Don't have a Let's Talk meeting. It's a waste of time.
I appreciate your opinion.
Right.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Member Trent. I think if we start running around and lifting weights and exerting ourselves, then maybe we'll have to worry about our vaccine passports. But, we're all going to be sitting down. Hopefully we're not going to be yelling too much at each other. And that there's you know, there's defined limits. I think when you see it, like, it's like, you need to be observing yourself, right? So, I know we may get excited up here, but, I mean, we're not running and cycling, but, you know, I understand Councillor Howe's concern about, you know, keeping people out, but we've heard that everyone can attend. We haven't had these in so long. It's really important to hear from our residents, and I think we need to hold this, right? We need to hear from them. I mean, I don't want to cancel it, even though there may be confusion. We just heard we can have people there. It's fine, don't bring any weights. We're good.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So for clarity on that, business of council is exempt. So municipal business for council is exempt. So that is why there is the exemption in regard to Let's Talk, because it is council business. Therefore, it's an essential service, so it is exempt.
Okay, thank you. So possibly 13th, 27th, or January. What's council's flavor? Councillor Kukalka.
Just curious, I know staff had mentioned in regards to bringing something forward, let talk, and when would they be ready? Would they be ready for the 13th? Or is that too quick for them and it needs to be the 27th?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, council. So the 13th would be pretty quick because council will be discussing items on the 12th at PCC. So having it the 27th, we would prefer that.
Okay. Council?
Good with
Sound good?
27th.
Okay, 27th, time, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock? Councillor?
7 p.m. Like, we're not doing the non-for-profit anymore, is the district or community center taking that over?
Correct. 7 o'clock? Okay. And do we need a motion, excuse me, do we need a motion to include the PMP on the 12th? Motion to include the PMP policies and priorities meeting for the October 12th. Seconder, Councillor Lehman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, any notice of motions tonight? Okay, and councillor's business, any councillor's business? Okay, we did attend UBCM. We had the ministers' meetings the week prior to the conference. Since last meeting, we had meetings with municipal affairs to discuss investment opportunities for municipalities. We met with Citizen Services Minister to discuss connectivity, Minister of State for Childcare to discuss new spaces funding, Minister of Health, Deputy Mayor Kukalka took that one over. You want to speak to that one? And Minister of Transportation, we spoke to them about Highway 52 East and North and Canusa Falls Road. Also had a meeting with Argo Roads as well. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think it is, you were remiss in one of your meetings, and I think it was Citizen Services, we brought up the issue of mandates. And, you know, I think it is important to recognize, like, we are still, whatever our personal feelings are, we are still trying to lobby the government for clarity on these issues, you know, on behalf of our residents. I won't speak on the response, but.
Yeah. Councillor Kukalka?
Thank you, Richard. You mentioned Argo, Omar. Maybe we should have staff reach out and have Argo come as a delegation.
I did mention to them that it would be beneficial for them to come as a delegation. We can certainly bring that to an invitation or formal invitation. We need a motion, I would assume, for that, Ms. Thompson? Councillor
I'll
Kukalka?
make a motion, we ask staff to reach out to Argo to come in as a delegation.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion? Councillor Majinski?
What would the topic be?
Councillor Kukalka?
So I actually attended the same meeting as the worship. It was an open invite by the mayor for all council. I joined, and it's just an update of what they've been doing, what they're prepared, getting prepared for winter, kind of what their specs are so people understand when they're on the road. There's also some things that came up out of that meeting, and one of them was the brush burning we'd seen done on the side of the highways in the past. That is not something that is a yearly or, every 3 years is done. It was a one-off done by the government. So, I asked them, is that something that we could help push? So for that to happen, to me, they need to come in as a delegation, so just making a notice of motion about it. Let them tell us that's one of their wants. And their other concern was that they would appreciate if residents or council or staff are traveling and they see issues, call Argo. They want to hear from people. They're all about making sure, there's could be reasons why they're not out there or whatever, or they are coming, they're just behind. Like, last year, year before, when the truck slid out on the hill, they couldn't get past it, so it got bad on the other side. But they do want to hear from people, so that was one of the comments. So to me, if they come in as a delegation, that gives them a chance to talk to council, but also public through our feed. So people understand they can call Argo.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Majinski?
So with the brush clearing, you're talking about the 10 to 20 meters out, not just the ditching.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And did we not bring that up with Modi?
Not last week, no.
Last year, though.
Last year we had, yeah, and I was under the understanding it was a regular scheduled thing, like every 10 years. Now speaking to Argo, it's not, so it's something that we will have to lobby to try and create, and basically for wildlife safety, or wildlife identification on the highways, basically. It is getting bad out there. Motion on the table, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Any other council business? Councillor Falcon?
I don't have council business, but I just want to make sure we talk about fuel in the back of our agenda.
The fuel?
Talk about it now, okay?
I think so, sure.
So I guess I'm just getting some clarity from staff in regards to develop health care program for recruitment and retention. To be determined still on the sheet. I know some of the delay was from Northern Health side getting the contract back to staff. I'm just wondering if we're looking at changing that and putting a deed to it.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes, thank you, Member Trent, through council. So we are, at this time, we're still gathering information, so I don't have a specific date on it. I will have it updated for the next meeting.
Okay. Any other councillors' business? Okay. Question and answer period. Welcome, gallery. Thank you for attending. There's an opportunity for a question if you have on specific to this agenda. So if you do, please come up to the delegation table. Please. Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay. How do I do this? Just ask a question or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Can the Mayor and Council please provide Tumbler Ridge citizens a signed copy of the Federal Emergency Act and a signed copy of the Provincial Emergency Act, please?
Okay. Sure, I don't see a problem there, Ms. Thompson. Do we have copies of that?
Thank you, Member Trent. We do not have them available at this time, but it's something that staff would be able to look into.
Okay, yeah, sure thing. Thank you. Any other questions?
Hello.
Hi.
Little nervous, but with this mandate, I guess, happening and us not being able to enter the gyms or do adult sports or yoga or any of that kind of thing, what are people with mental health issues that need those sort of things going to do? Really, what you guys have opened up for us, well, not you guys in particular, but the government has opened up drugs, weed stores, alcohol, the use of illegal drugs in our own homes, causing mass overdoses, mass depressions. What are we supposed to do? We can go outside and walk. It's going to be winter.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't answer that. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think you bring up a real good point about the state of our healthcare system as it stands today. Right? This is something that we can highlight in that, you know, previous governments have really failed us in our healthcare system as it stands. It failed us. Let me slow down. Excuse me. It failed us before the pandemic. We are having healthcare issues. We're having overdose crises. We're having mental health issues, and this crisis has put more strain on us. It's put more strain on the healthcare system. I fully agree with you. You know, this is one more thing that we should be getting behind to demand better healthcare, more adequate healthcare for all of us. I agree. When it comes to the mandates, you know, I hope that there's levels above us that can advocate and navigate this in the correct path, right? Because I mean, it's nice for us to sit here and say what we want to say, but I'm a librarian. I'm a district councillor. I am not an authority on legal matters. So I hope that we will have clarity on those legal matters.
So I guess that would be my question. I am disabled. My knee blew out, as most of you know, a couple years ago, mid-ice. I'm a figure skating coach. I can't go hike. I can't walk far distances. My next slip up is going to be knee surgery. So I need the gym. I need to be there. It's got the equipment I need. It clears my head and it makes my body healthy. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I completely understand. Absolutely. I think on a mental health aspect to things, I think the province and the federal government are playing catch up severely in that regards. I think it's been neglected for many, many years. The overdose crisis is still continuing today. You know, you and I have been directly affected by that, and I completely understand that. Believe me, we have the same frustration that you do as well. I think we all just want COVID to go away.
But do you have the same pain that we have? Us mentally ill have a whole different pain. Mm-hmm. Sitting at home with nothing, with nobody, with no outlet is a very dark and lonely existence. Mm-hmm. You may have the frustrations, but you do not have the pain or the battles. Mm-hmm. And we are literally not allowed to do anything that brings us sobriety, clarity, or physical or mental health. Go to the doctors, take pills, go for a walk in the bushes. That's what we get.
Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so, great question. Don't be nervous, you're doing very well up there.
I'm terrified.
Don't be nervous, you're doing well. I think this is clarification. You know, I brought it up to ask for clarification. I'm gonna make a motion while we have delegation. I'm gonna make that motion the question. I'm gonna ask that we ask staff to reach out to provincial government, asking for clarification in regards to if mental health would be exempt.
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member Trent, Council. I'm not sure of the exact wording on it, but I do know that if physical activity that you require or that you are utilizing is a part of a treatment plan, or there's another word that was in there. We don't request that proof to be brought other than to look at it, and Chief Curry is taking care of that. We just look at it and then you can go from there. And so what we've done with another individual that attends due to a treatment plan or a program that is through their physician, there is an exemption for them at the gym. Okay. So if you want to give us a call tomorrow, I'll find the exact wording and we can see what we can help you as well.
Thank you.
There's some information I found out today as well.
Thank you. Councillor.
So just get on, we talk physical, but let's talk mental. Is there anything in there you know? I mean, I want to put a motion out there so that you have, I mean, if I don't have to put a motion and staff's able to reach out to them to get clarity on that, because I understand in regards to a knee being blown out and there's some physical healing that you need to do. When she talks about mental, she's not the only individual in our community, so she's speaking for many, brave enough to stand up there and talk about it publicly. So hats off to you.
Yeah.
Hats off to you. But if there is something there, I mean, I don't, you know, it's not that, you know, you get doctors, you know, to get this. I get that, but that's not something that I want to be concerned about. But if we have residents out there that have that condition, and that's what eases their pain, that is something, that's why I talked about at the beginning about getting clarification, because I've heard of scenarios, and maybe not from your side, but other people. Well, I missed that meeting to be able to talk about some of that, because I think that's what some of these residents are bringing up. So if we don't need to make a motion, staff can reach out in regards to that. I get physically, if she has a note, and that's part of her rehabilitation, that she can use our facilities. But maybe other individuals don't have the physical need, it's the mental need. They need to get out there to drive those demons out of their body, and they do it by using swimming pool, which sounds like you guys are allowed to use anyways. So.
Ms. Thompson, is a motion needed?
Thank you, Member Trent. So I know that there's another word that's in there that isn't just besides physical, right? So there is another word in there that if a doctor would provide a medical exemption, we don't need to know the reason why, whether or not it's physical or mental disability, we don't need to know that, right? A doctor's note stating that there's a requirement for physical activities for this, or, for this reason, we don't ask for proof, and then your name is on a list at the, well, we do ask for, to talk to Chief Curry about it, so that he can review, that there is an exemption, a medical exemption, but we don't need to know the reason why, physical or mental.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kirkcaldy.
So just on that, we can ask for proof of medical
Just for
exemption?
an exemption,
We can
medical
ask for that proof
exemption.
though? It states in their mandates that we do not, or their orders that we do not ask for proof.
Right, but the exemption that is there, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
But
please.
the exemption that is there says that there is an actual exemption in the order if it is part of a treatment plan, or I can't remember what the other word is there. So if we can get information saying, I am exempt for this reason, we are good.
Okay, Councillor Howell.
So how do we then build on this? How do we take that? Because I was told there is no exemptions, no matter what. And if there is some type of an exemption, how do we get that information out to the public as this council, showing that we're doing something in our power to try to help them? Not everybody knows. I don't know about the exemption. I'm in charge of our old timers hockey, and I have to make sure everybody's got the passport when they come in, or their card, right? But I've been told there is no exemption. So now I'm hearing there is an exemption. How do we get that information out? Do we have a way that we can use the district website, or can we get the actual order from staff that we can put on our own personal or council Facebook pages, or something to that degree? Because if it's out there, that's absolute news to me.
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member Trent. So the information that we have is actually on the website. I can find out exactly what that is from Chief Curry, but we did actually have this discussion today on an exemption because there was a treatment plan, or I'm sorry, I can't remember the other word that went with it, that there is actually that exemption that can be applied.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So it has to be a treatment plan, not being on, I've been on disability for many years. I suffer a lot of mental demons.
So we can, if you're okay, you and I can talk.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow.
I'm just wondering, is it everybody else too that can apply to this? It's not just me.
Yeah, exactly, and I'll get the,
Ms. Thompson, please.
I apologize for interrupting. I'm not as sure of the exact wording,
Mhm.
so we will find it out tomorrow, and then I can share it with you, and you can share it around as well, and get the information to council as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Thompson. Is there any other questions?
Alright, so at the special council meeting on September 7th, I asked council, has the district of Tumbler Ridge been bribed or given any amount of money by the provincial or federal governments in order to execute this discriminatory program? Or has the district of Tumbler Ridge been blackmailed or threatened with the loss of payments by the government if the district does not facilitate the program? And you guys denied that it was bribery, but you did admit to receiving $850,000. I was informed later it was $827,000 called for the COVID recovery grant. So my question is, how much of that $827,000 has been spent already, and on what?
Sure thing. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member Trent. So I don't have the exact number at this point of what had been spent. If you look at our financial statement that was prepared for the end of 2020, there will be a schedule in there of what had been spent up until December 31st of 2020. Staff had brought a report to council in June, I believe, and we will be bringing another report in October to council with where those funds have been spent.
And there was, with that grant, there was specific clarification and categories on what that money could be spent on. It was very much to do with economic recovery, and also to try and reimburse the municipalities for adjustments that they had to make in regards to the plexiglass and the sanitizing wipes and all of the other stuff there. So, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Please.
So I was just curious, I was surprised to hear of this loophole to get into the gym. I don't think a lot of people know about this. I'm surprised to hear about this meeting, like where we can have so many people together in a room if we have a council meeting or a meeting. Is there a way we can work within these loopholes and have meetings in the gym, you know, and work with the province within their own craziness? Like, we're all sitting here, you know, questionably within 6 feet, not wearing masks, like, you know, we're working within their requirements. We're playing their game. Can we just continue to do that? But help and work with members of the community for everyone?
So you were suggesting we have council meetings at the gym?
Sure. I mean, 150 people in one room sitting together, or 10 people in the gym, you know. Which is better?
Councillor Howell?
Or even one in the gym. Like, could we not ask the province, could we not say, listen, can we even do 45-minute blocks? We do 45-minute block where one person can attend the gym, and we do a 15-minute cleaning and then a 45. It's not perfect, but at least it's something. Can we not pose that question to the government with the rhetoric that we're saying you can put 150 people in a room for a council meeting and serve them snacks and chicken fingers and wings, but you can't put one person who has mental health issues in the gym who wants to do some working out to relieve some stress. Like that's the type of stuff that I'm getting at. Is it not worth our time to try to run that up the flagpole to our province? I mean, I'm kind of looking at you, Joanne, you're shaking your head like, are you saying, no, it's not worth our time, or what do you?
No, I'm shaking my head because it just, all the rules don't make sense. They just don't, and it all comes down to trying to do what's best for the population of getting everybody double vaxxed, and that's what they want. They want everybody to double vaccinate, do it quick, so we can get out of this health nightmare, as they're saying, because of what the strain it's putting on our medical teams. Like that's the biggest point of all this is, you know, it's just like Kenny out in Alberta giving everybody $100 to go get their second vax, and it's just trying to get it so that our medical, you know, our hospitals aren't full. And so, yeah, and that's what I don't get. That's why I'm saying it doesn't make any sense. All the rules, it's, how can anybody implement them? Because they're all over the place. Then when they're just trying to get one thing done, and that's everybody vaccinated. So they're just going at these lengths, and then we have to, as elected officials, have to try to make sense of it all, and they throw it onto the municipalities. Thank you for that. Thanks, you know, because now we're all in it. And this 7 people are taking the brunt of what they've just thrown down here, and putting orders on people and making you feel like you have to do things you don't want to. So, you know, I'm vaccinated. That's my choice. I'm not going to ask anybody in this gallery if you're vaccinated. Am I going to follow the rules that we have to as municipal, as council, to make sure that our centers are running properly? Absolutely. But the questions you're asking, yeah, you kind of want to know the answers.
Ms. Thompson, have you seen any possibility for working within the goalposts?
Thank you, Member Trent. That is something that we usually have daily discussions on, right? The minimum minimum that we need to do in order to ensure that we're following the provincial health order. We aren't looking at further restrictions, but we do look at comparing this sentence to this sentence and the interpretation of it. So we do try and make it work as we need to, while still reading everything, because it's like this sentence, but then you have to look at another criteria that goes with it. So we have to try and manage what that is and to make sense, and we need to be consistent. So that is what we talk a lot about as well, is consistency and how it works throughout all of our facilities, whether or not it's programs or whether or not it's a municipal building like town hall where a lot of stuff is exempt. So we do have those discussions quite regularly.
Okay. And, you know, that's part of the response I gave to municipal affairs as well. As at the beginning of COVID, the province was really asking us to encourage people to get vaccinated. Now with the passports, we're in a different situation. The passports have come out, this program has come out, there's no exceptions, there's no flexibility within this program. There's many, many different situations that people have, whether they can or cannot get vaccinated, whether they agree or disagree. But this passport is very rigid and no flexibility. So I explained to the Minister of Municipal Affairs that I'm not encouraging the passport anymore because I'm at the point now where I need to respect everybody's decision. I'm not going to ask their decision, but I need to respect that. And I did mention to them that there needs to be more flexibility within this program because not everybody has the ability, whether they agree or not, to get this vaccine. So it is very frustrating for all of us, I believe, in different situations and circumstances. Councillor Kirkcalkin.
So is it worth, again, I understand what staff is talking about there, but just getting clarification from the government? Like asking them that. We talk about a half hour slot, 45 minute slot, whatever you want to talk about. I think sometimes when these orders are handed down, they don't realize that it's actually a municipality that owns the wait room. Right? Down south, there isn't a whole bunch of community centers down there that have what we have. Yes, there's a wait room and everything else, but it's some private enterprise. So we actually own it. Okay, sorry, we don't. Taxpayers do. Right? So is that worth not asking them, hey, listen, is this something that's doable? I get they want to force the passport thing and try to get people to take the vaccination. I totally get that. That's okay. To me, that's bullying. That's how I looked at it. It's bullying.
Yeah.
Right? That's to me, it's bullying. Hey, if you don't take it, you don't get this.
Yeah.
I can't bully you. You're not to bully me. It's against law. Not for the law. Right?
Well, and you're entitled to your opinion too.
Yeah, but is it not worth? Councillor Howell mentioned. I mean, I know the delegations asked that, but is there a loophole that maybe that's something that they would accept? I mean, I understand, I guess, from staff, do we still have weight room attendants at the weight room and it's not being used? Okay, well, I guess there's probably being used because there's people with vaccination passports. But I'm assuming it's mandated and they're probably doing sanitization. So if we came up with a safety plan, would they be okay with that?
I'm not 100% sure how unique community-owned gym is. It's certainly worth the question, most definitely. Ms. Thompson, would you like a motion on this, or yeah?
Yeah, that would be good. I do know that there is no separation between municipal owned and privately owned. It just says gyms. But
Okay, entertain a motion. Councillor
I'll make the
Kirkcalkin.
motion that we ask staff, just for clarity from the BC government, when it comes to district-owned weight room, if we can make time slots, whatever way you want to word it. I don't know how you want it worded. I mean, I asked earlier about making a motion to do this. It didn't seem like we needed to. We're just going to ask for clarification.
It was whether or not Ms. Thompson was able to get that clarification, but yes. Seconder. I'll second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councillor Kirkcalkin.
So just some clarity from Ms. Thompson, if I may. I understand that Chief Curry sits on these calls. I'm just curious if she's involved when it comes to this. I understand he's protective services. He's the senior director of it. But this seems to be quite the in-depth thing where maybe we should be making sure, I understand she has a big task. Maybe we should have some more input on this seat. When it comes to these calls or whatever. Like, I understand she's getting the information from her member, her staff member. And maybe we need to have more involvement from our seat.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I can make it a priority and push other things off this time, but it is easier sometimes it is easy to delegate to Chief Curry because he does have that information and I do trust the information that he brings back.
Okay. All right. Any more questions from the gallery? Okay, thank you very much for attending. 13, resolution to close meeting. I'll move that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with the Community Charter, Section 91E and J as follows. E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. And J, information that is prohibited or information that if were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Seconder? Councillor Howell? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 10-minute recess, please.